Today, we're making the past feel easy. We're working on Spanish past tense IR verbs. And the good news is this. In the simple past, a lot of common IR verbs follow a very clear pattern. If you can hear the pattern, you can start using it right away. Think of this lesson as learning a small set of building blocks. Words like vivir, to live, escribir, to write, abrir, to open, recibir, to receive, decidir, to decide. These are useful everyday verbs, and in the past tense, they become forms like viví, escribiste, abrió, recibimos, decidieron. Here's the core idea. For regular IR verbs in the simple past, you remove the IR and add these endings. Iste, io, imos, ieron. Listen again. Iste, io, imos, ieron. Very musical, very neat. Spanish is helping you out here. So vivir becomes viví, viviste, vivió, vivimos, vivieron. Escribir becomes escribí, escribiste, escribió, escribimos, escribieron. Abrir becomes abrí, abriste, abrió, abrimos, abrieron. And here's a nice memory trick. The past tense endings from many regular IR verbs sound like a little staircase. Iste, io, imos, ieron. Short, longer, accented. Then imos, then ieron. If you remember just one full example like vivir, you can recycle the pattern again and again. Let's make it active right away. How do you say I lived in Madrid for 2 years in Spanish? Viví en Madrid por 2 años. Viví en Madrid por 2 años. Good. Notice viví, I lived. That final E is doing a lot of work. A quick side note, por 2 años means for 2 years. Very practical. You'll hear por with duration a lot. Now let's build more. How do you say, did you write the message in Spanish? ¿Escribiste el mensaje? ¿Escribiste el mensaje? Nice. Escribiste means you wrote, or did you write, depending on your voice and the question marks. Spanish often lets tone and punctuation do that job. By the way, escribir is one of those super useful verbs. Message is mensaje, and yes, el mensaje, not la mensaje. Think of it as a masculine noun you'll use all the time. Now, one important thing beginners often mix up. IR and ER verbs can look similar in the past. At this level, what matters most is noticing the pattern you're practicing. With regular IR verbs, you'll see endings like vivió, escribieron, abrimos. Keep your ear tuned to that family. Let's keep moving. How do you say we opened the door in Spanish? Abrimos la puerta. Abrimos la puerta. Perfect. Abrimos. Now here's a tiny but helpful warning. Abrimos can mean we open in the present or we opened in the past. Same form. So how do Spanish speakers know? Context. If you're telling a story about yesterday, abrimos clearly means we opened. If you're talking about a routine or what's happening now, it can mean we open. Context is the detective here. Let's hear a few more forms together. I wrote, escribí. You wrote, escribiste. She wrote, escribió. We wrote, escribimos. They wrote, escribieron. Say those softly with me if you can. Escribí, escribiste, escribió, escribimos, escribieron. Excellent. How do you say, she received my email in Spanish? Recibió mi correo electrónico. Recibió mi correo electrónico. Great job. Recibió. She received. And here's a practical shortcut. If correo electrónico feels long, and yes, it is a bit of a mouth workout. In real life, many people also say email. But correo electrónico is a great standard phrase to know. Now let's work with decidir, to decide. This one is useful for daily life, travel, work, everything. How do you say, they decided to leave early in Spanish? Decidieron salir temprano. Decidieron salir temprano. Excellent. Decidieron salir temprano. Notice salir, to leave. After another verb, Spanish often keeps the second verb in its basic form. Decidieron salir, decided to leave. Very common structure. Let's pause and connect the pattern. Vivir, viví. Escribir, escribiste. Abrir, abrió. Recibir, recibimos. Decidir, decidieron. Same engine, different verbs. Now I want to make sure this really sticks. Imagine the endings attached to a simple rhythm. Y, iste, yo, imos, ieron. If you're walking right now, step to the rhythm. If you're driving, maybe don't dance too hard. But mentally dance. The pattern matters. How do you say, I wrote a note in Spanish? Escribí una nota. Escribí una nota. Nice. Escribí una nota. How do you say, he opened the window in Spanish? Abrió la ventana. Abrió la ventana. Very good. Abrió la ventana. Quick side note, la ventana is window, and la puerta is door. Those two are handy travel words. If you can ask for a door to be opened or talk about a window, you're already more functional than you might think. How do you say, we lived there in Spanish? Vivimos allí. Vivimos allí. Great. Vivimos allí. And that little word allí means there. You may also hear allí or allá in different situations, but for now, allí is a useful clean option. How do you say, did you decide today in Spanish? ¿Decidiste hoy? ¿Decidiste hoy? Excellent. ¿Decidiste hoy? Now, a common mistake. Learners sometimes forget the accent marks in forms like vivió or escribió. In speaking, the stress matters. In writing, the accent helps show it clearly. So escribió is not the same shape as escribió. If you're writing Spanish, those accents are not decoration. They are working. Another common mistake is using the infinitive after a subject when you need the past form. For example, not yo escribí el mensaje, for I wrote the message. You need escribí el mensaje. The verb has to wear its past tense outfit. Let's do a mini story with these verbs. Ayer viví un momento extraño. Yesterday I lived through a strange moment. Or more naturally, I had a strange moment. Escribí un mensaje. I wrote a message. Abrí la puerta. I opened the door. Recibí una respuesta. I received a reply. Y decidí salir. And I decided to leave. See how natural these verbs are in a story? Spanish loves this tense for completed actions. How do you say, I received good news in Spanish? Recibí buenas noticias. Recibí buenas noticias. Nice one. Recibí buenas noticias. Little vocabulary bonus. Noticias is news. It looks plural in Spanish, even when in English we often treat news as a single thing. So buenas noticias, good news. How do you say, they wrote my name in Spanish? Escribieron mi nombre. Escribieron mi nombre. Perfect. Escribieron mi nombre. Before we finish, let's review the heart of the lesson one more time. Regular IR verbs in the simple past take these endings. Y, iste, yo, imos, ieron. Viví, viviste, vivió, vivimos, vivieron. Escribí, escribiste, escribió, escribimos, escribieron. Abrí, abriste, abrió, abrimos, abrieron. Your memory trick is the sound pattern. Y, iste, yo, imos, ieron. Your practical trick is to learn it with a few high-frequency verbs. Vivir, escribir, abrir, recibir, decidir. Your caution signs are these. Don't forget accent marks like in escribió and recibió. And remember that abrimos or vivimos can sometimes be present or past depending on context. And one more encouraging thought. You do not need to know every verb in Spanish to start speaking about the past. You just need a few reliable verbs and a pattern you trust. Today, you built exactly that. So next time you want to say, I lived, I wrote, we opened, she received, they decided, you've got it. Viví, escribí, abrimos, recibió, decidieron. You're doing well. Seriously. Past tense can feel intimidating at first, and now you've already turned it into something usable, repeatable, and real. Keep listening, keep repeating, and the pattern will start sounding normal very quickly. Hasta la próxima. And yes, that means see you next time.